What is up, everyone? It is July 22nd, and this is the fifth rendition of ZecDaily. I'm Ian Sackstetter, and today, happy Friday, everyone. Hope everyone's going to have some great plans going into the weekend, and let's just get right into it. Think this is going to be shorter. Said that last time, went over 12 minutes, so let's see if we can keep this under 10. First thing we have here, maybe not some Zcash news, but I feel like a very under-followed account within the Zcash ecosystem is Lise Nathan. I think if you want a lot of thought-provoking information, I would highly recommend following his account because just with the entire crypto space in general, he has a lot of really good insights and a lot of really brings up a lot of really interesting topics. So what he says here is that when you're looking at a design to fund public goods, then when the crowd says public goods, most people are saying this is a public good because it's something that I really like and think is useful. And then when people use the word collusion, it's like they're cooperating to build something I don't like. So let's do it this way. Let's think of okay, building bikes is a public good, so we need to do it. But building trucks is people collude to build trucks because trucks are bad for the environment. Let's say Ford F-150s, I don't know. Trucks are bad for the environment, bikes are good for the environment. So building bikes good, building trucks bad. That's kind of an example that you could have there. And Vitalik from the Ethereum community, founder of Ethereum, came in and responded with a clear definition of collusion that he uses here in this in this in this paper. I think this is from his review of the network state by Balaji, and then it says it's easy to misuse words and just get them to mean stuff I like and stuff I don't like. Again, really simple tweet, but I think if you want to get some really good content and thought-provoking stuff, I would just honestly highly recommend following Nathan. So that's how we start today. Next, we have Dan Spuller from the Blockchain Association, who's the head of industry affairs there, talking about how Jake Chervinsky addressed everybody at the PGP, Pretty Good Policy, crypto breakfast in Washington, D.C. So if you guys aren't aware, ECC hosts a breakfast every month, once a month, and all of the really awesome policy people within the industry attend this breakfast to talk about a lot of the different things that are going on within crypto and policy. It's for members of think tanks, policymakers, and then also crypto advocates and activists. So it's a really, really, really good event. That's happening every month in DC. It's really, really popular, and it's hosted by the Electric Coin Company in cooperation with the Blockchain Association. So lots of really great conversations going on, and really great work from Paul on the ECC team with setting all this up. So really want to give a shout out there. And from this tweet, getting a lot of attention. Like everyone knows, I work at ECC, I do comms, so I do see the Twitter and stuff, and all of the policy people from Washington, D.C. are starting to follow the ECC Twitter because of this, which is super, super awesome. The next bit, Pitma and Yodatar had their conversation last night in the Zcash Latam Discord. Like I mentioned a couple days ago in ZecDaily number 4, they had a lot of events coming up, and that was one of them. It looks like it was a great conversation. If you don't want to miss any future conversations around that happening, I would recommend that you go into the Discord and check that out. The Zcash Foundation announced two more speakers to their for ZCon 3. The first of which was Zondax, which is after a multi-year effort. They're going to be speaking about their developments with getting shielded support for Zcash on Ledger, Ledger support for shielded supported transactions in Zec Wallet. So I'm imagining you are able to, you can do with hardware wallets with MetaMask, you're going to be able to connect your Zec Wallet to Ledger. I don't know. We're going to see. So this is from Francisco Denise and Ida Tucker. So they're going to be speaking from the Zondax team about hardware support for Zcash. So super excited to hear more about that. And then we have here, ECC is going to be sharing its interest from moving Zcash from proof of work to proof of stake. This is where I think most of the call takes up. So let's dive into this. So this is going to be a really interesting topic. I imagine a lot of people are going to be interested in this. It's Nate Wilcox, who's a chief research officer at ECC, and then Stephen Smith, who is the senior vice president of engineering and product. Okay. So proof of stake and proof of work. So there's a really big debate about proof of work versus proof of stake, and I admittedly am actually one of the people who would probably, again, I don't have an opinion, 100 like a full opinion, very very loosely held, but I would say I lean towards proof of work. Few reasons for that, but what I will say is that as I've started to research proof of stake more, a lot of the arguments I had against proof of stake have been answered quite clearly just by researching it and trying to understand a lot of the information around it. Like, there is a lot of security benefits and security trade-offs. Does it produce a better case for interoperability? Maybe. Like, not entirely sure. So when people talk about proof of work versus proof of stake, I don't think being proof of stake makes you security. I don't think it does that at all. I think it's just a different, I guess, consensus mechanism, if you want to call it that. I've heard that's a bad way to describe it, but let's just use that term. It's just a different consensus mechanism that has trade-offs when compared to proof of work. So if Zcash was to only remain a Bitcoin-like, what's the word I'm looking for? Bitcoin-like cryptocurrency, and only operate as a way to store value and perhaps do payments, then I would probably gear to say that proof of work might be a better system for that. The majority of the community is saying that they would like things like ZSAs, interoperability, Zec and DeFi, etc. And from my understanding with the research, it does look like proof of stake might be a better fit for that. And I really couldn't explain like the technical side of how proof of stake provides more interoperability, but from what I'm reading, it does seem to be more interoperable friendly, especially if you look at things like the Cosmos ecosystem. So if you went proof of stake on Cosmos, Cosmos is kind of like a layer zero, like internet of blockchain. It's like what blockchains build on top of, and then you were able to like interact with all the other Cosmos chains. So that's like another interesting use case that could potentially come from like these proof of stake discussions. So I think when people, I used to really hate proof of stake, and I was like, this is, I used to kind of like be on that bandwagon that I really didn't like it. It was a really kind of like, I would say, uninformed opinion, and I was just kind of sticking to what I have read about in the past. I do think proof of work's great. I don't think it should get banned. I like it. I think Bitcoin should stay proof of work, like et cetera, et cetera. Like, it's awesome, right? But when you're looking at proof of stake versus proof of work, I would just really recommend to people, like, just do as much research as you can, have an open mind. I think a lot of the flack that proof of stake gets is like invalid. Like, I don't think, like, I get that it's like, okay, it centralizes efforts, and I can see where people come from that, right? Like, so if an exchange has the majority of like Zec or Zcash or Ether and Ethereum, and they go and they stake, then they have one of the largest, stake, like, weight and staking within the entire ecosystem. As long as that's not used like for governance decisions, and that can be debated whether it will be, then you're in a pretty good place, right? Like, it doesn't centralize governance. It might centralize like who's getting the most rewards from staking, but then again, like, staking is more accessible to do than mining. I'm not saying it's completely accessible. Not everybody's going to be able to stake and afford the hardware and everything they need to do that, but it does, in a way, democratize it slightly, and then in another way, it's just a way for more people to come into the network and then provide security, especially as you approach like the 21 million cap. I think that might be a really interesting to look at via proof of stake. So again, kind of a word vomit there. I would just say to everyone looking at it, like, I'm trying to do my research, I'm trying to form an opinion. It's really, really hard. And as I am researching more about proof of stake, my disdain towards it, that's a strong word, but disdain towards it is softening. So I just recommend everyone check it out. Just read as much as you can on it, and I will put my foot in the sand, or flag in the sand, and say, like, it doesn't make Zec a security. It does not do that at all. Does it centralize, who gets the most rewards and whatever? It might. I don't know. It might. Like, but I don't think it centralizes governance. I don't think it makes Zec a security. And if Zec is looking to be a currency with more utility and be available for more things, then proof of stake might be a better fit, as opposed to if it's just a payment protocol. So that's my spiel on it. And could be wrong. I could be very wrong. Everything I said there could be BS, but that's the way this is. So doing my research, and that's my spiel on it. The next bit, JW Verritt, a huge Zcash fan. He's a policy guy and professor out in Washington, D.C. Huge Zcash fan, huge privacy fan. He's writing a book on crypto privacy. So he had this Twitter Spaces with someone named Rod Rafferty, who's a comms director, I believe, at a nonprofit. Met Rob on this call, and Rob's interested in the crypto space as well. Been involved for a little bit, but JW Verritt's really interesting because he's writing a book on crypto privacy. He's basically saying like, hey, crypto's great, but if you use it normally, like Ethereum, Bitcoin, etc., it's completely transparent. You can see everything everyone's doing it with, like everyone can see what you're doing with your money. Not great, right? And you have to go through all these loopholes, and it's difficult, and using these systems is not easy. So that's kind of like the spiel. And then what he does is he's writing a book on how you can use Monero and Zcash are the two main examples he's going to kind of provide. Secret Network for a lot of DeFi. For those who don't know, Secret Network is a layer 1 solution that uses zero knowledge proofs and it's on Cosmos. It's built on Cosmos, so proof of stake layer 1 for privacy on Cosmos. Aztec in the Ethereum ecosystem, which is now, I believe, called a layer 2. I don't know if it's a layer 2 or if it's like a solution that provides privacy, like a mixer. I think it's a layer 2 that provides like private DeFi and private transactions in Ethereum. So super interesting there. And yeah, so what they're doing is like having a conversation around like the book and why he's writing this book, and what importance does it have in the space. I'm really excited for it. He's talked about a few different publishing routes he could go, talked about potentially some NFT rewards with the book. It was actually a really cool conversation. So I would recommend everybody to follow JW Verritt. I don't think the space was recorded. Let's actually check and see. It was not recorded, so you can't go back and listen to it, but I would recommend following JW because he has a lot of great insights into the policy side of things. He is an absolute policy advocate and privacy advocate, and someone that we really, really need to appreciate, doing a lot of great work in DC. So shout out to JW and shout out to that Spaces. Man, we are already over 10 minutes. Sorry about that. And sorry for the swear word here in this tweet. We're all adults here. I think we can manage it. But this was someone came into the GitHub repo and actually made some contributions. And after I posted this, someone else came in and made contributions, and then sent me a message regarding like, hey, what can we do here? And then more people are like DMing me on Telegram. I have to check that. I'm sorry. I'm bad at checking Telegram. So if you really want to get a hold of me, I think the best way is Twitter. But yeah, I think it's so super cool that we've like this thing's only been out like a week. It's only been out this week, I think. Yeah, Tuesday. And people are already coming into the GitHub and contributing and learning how they contribute. So again, super, super stoked for everything that's going on here. And yeah, thank you guys so much for supporting so far. It's really exciting. And then the last bit, Josh Swihart, Senior Vice President of Growth, Regulatory Relations, and Product Strategy at the Electric Coin Company. You guys all know Josh. Went to Washington, D.C. with our head of U.S. policy. I think that's the right title. Head of U.S. Policy and Advocacy, Paul Brigner, and they had a great time in D.C. I would recommend checking out this thread. Description is obviously in the, thread link is obviously in the description. I would recommend checking this out just to kind of get a pulse check on what they're doing over in D.C. So while, again, my opinion, not of my employer, I would love it to where like the government just stayed out of all of this. I think a lot of us feel that way. But in the modern world, my utopian ideas are probably not realistic, right? I think those ideas are not realistic. I think you do have to work with policymakers, and you do have to have a lot of relationships within those sectors to ensure that we're allowed to develop the things that we want to develop and the things that we believe are going to, provide economic freedom and fair access to a politically neutral currency. We need the ability to do all of these things without being watched and feel like we're being restrained, right, by policy, by different policy things. So education in these spaces is super, super important. I want to give a massive, massive shout out to Paul Brigner and for all the work that he's doing. If you guys aren't aware, like we just mentioned, the pretty good policy breakfast that he's doing. He's always in DC advocating for privacy and Zcash as a cryptocurrency, explaining what it does, explaining how it works, and telling people why it's so important. So again, follow this thread, give Paul a shout out, give him a follow. Great people to be connected within the ecosystem. And yeah, it's a lot of great work. Title's right there, Head of U.S. Policy, Strategic Advocacy. Sorry, right here. Well, now I'm on his Twitter. There's his title. That's Paul. If you want to follow Paul, that's Paul's Twitter. So yeah, great work there, and really excited for all the work they're doing, and just overall, just continue to be excuse me, continue to be really positive about the things that are going on in the ecosystem. Just to address a few things, like seen some chatter with people like kind of feeling frustrated about the investment, and I understand that like people will say like, well, other privacy products like you can use them more easily, or private currencies, or this doesn't work like it should. Like we should already be at the level of like Ethereum with smart contracts and stuff like that. Like why is Bitcoin more used than Zcash? Why is Bitcoin easier to use? Why is Lightning a thing? Like XYZ, right? I think people need to understand that when you're building, and this came from Ledger's conversation with Zuko, where Zuko met with their CTO on a Twitter Spaces. Ledger, the wallet brand. Zuko mentioned that you sacrifice a lot of user experience when you're developing for privacy. So when people are frustrated about the current state of Zec user experience, I'd like to just remind them that that is a byproduct of having by far the best privacy, a payment protocol without trusted setup, bullet like the technology that Zcash has built is not bulletproof. I would never say anything's 100% bulletproof, but it's pretty damn close, and it's pretty damn close to getting people the ultimate privacy and what they need. So it's by far the best privacy out there with any form of digital money. It rivals the privacy that you can have with cash, and I would say there's debates for both sides and arguments for both sides, which is better. So I would just want to remind everyone that while there are a lot of frustrations with like wallet experiences and things of that nature, I would just remind there's a reason behind that. It's because the tech is very, very good. Everyone in the industry admires it. Everyone building privacy in the industry is building upon the technologies that Zcash has created. And I just want to acknowledge that and say you know what, good things really take time. And as we're building through the bear market, a lot of the projects that are here right now aren't going to be here. Like Terra, it's gone. It's gone, right? It might come back. Could, don't know. But it was a top 5. Luna was a top 5 currency by market cap. Terra was number 8, and then the whole thing crashed, right? So the two currencies were both in the top 10. Whole thing crashed. Zcash is still here. It's still building. So just say to everyone, I understand there can be some frustrations with the UX. The better UX is coming. Teams are working on it. Teams are building it. And I would just also say the best privacy solutions are not going to be spun up that quickly and are going to take a lot of time to build, because you need to ensure that the users have ultimate security when they're using it. So again, my little spiel. Wow, this took 18 minutes. I'm so sorry. Thank you guys for watching so much, and hope that you got value out of this. Sorry it is so long. And I will be back probably on Monday or Tuesday, depending on how much news with Zcash comes out over the weekend, with the next update of ZecDaily. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And also if you're subscribed to the newsletter, that's coming out here soon too. So I hope you guys have a great day.